SAT today.
SAT!
Alright guys, welcome to another podcast. I'm here today with Adam from Soflo SAT Tutoring, which means we're talking nothing about academics today, right?
No, we're going to keep it as exciting as we can, even though it's a pretty boring test.
Well, it can change your future though.
It's the most important test you're ever going to take though.
Yeah, it is. And it's only 4 hours, so it's not...
4 hours.
It could be worse. But you are the expert that we brought into ASM scholarships because from what I hear from Brendon, the work you've been doing with our students has been phenomenal. And we're going to be working more together to make things bigger and better for next year in 2020. So we wanted you to come in, so thanks for coming into our office today so we can chat about the SATs. But let's start off, maybe you telling us more about what you're doing, because you had a really good interesting story before we got on camera. So
yeah,
your score was pretty impressive from what you told me, which maybe I'll let you divulge.
So I'm Adam Shlomi. I'm the founder of Soflo SAT Tutoring. I went to Georgetown University, scored an 800 on the SAT reading, 770 on the SAT math, and I've been tutoring for the last 5 years. We provide really exceptional one-on-one SAT prep where we really think about, what does our student need, how far away from their goal, and then, what tricks, what lessons do they need to know to get there. We're not focused on teaching you all of the stuff that you forgot at school. We're focused on getting you the highest SAT score in the lowest amount of time.
Right.
Sometimes that can be as simple as learning how to use a comma correctly, or when you should be using your calculator versus when you should be leaving your calculator on the table. I started Soflo SAT Tutoring a little bit more than a year ago. I had broken my ankle, wasn't going to walk again, a doctor told me. I'd come down to Florida, was in my parents' house, didn't have much going on, and so I started this company from my bedroom doing online SAT prep for students across the country, and now thanks to ASM Sports Group, we're doing students across the world.
Awesome. Cool. Nice. And so what was your grades when you do SATs?
So I was never the best student. It was hard for me to pay attention for 4 years of college, for 4 years of high school, but if someone told me, you're going to do well on this test for 4 hours and you'll get into the college you want, that was enough for me. So, I was a solid student, maybe B pluses, A minuses, but I said this test is going to take me where I want to go, and it's only 4 hours long, and so that's the amount of effort that I was able to put in.
So, and you got, I think it was reading 820...
800.
800, right?
Yeah.
And then, sorry, math was 720.
Math is 770, reading 800.
Okay.
Yeah, so low score.
Yeah, so over 1500.
Yeah.
So
the maximum is 1600.
I mean, that's Ivy League level.
Yeah.
To get those scores. And then where did you end up going to university?
So I went to Georgetown University in Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
We just won the national soccer championship last night.
Yeah, so I mean, that's one of the most prestigious schools in the country. I think a lot of ex-presidents have gone there.
Yeah, Bill Clinton went there.
Yeah.
So I chose Georgetown because I was really interested in politics and public service. It had a really strong government program.
Yeah.
And then after about a year, I saw all these people working in politics who weren't getting anything done, but they were, smart and hardworking. And I got really interested in entrepreneurship as a way to sort of, build my own thing and create the future.
Probably a wise decision to get out of politics.
Was that the only school that you got into with that score, or is there other schools?
So the other one that I really considered was Northwestern. I got into their journalism program, and when I was younger, I wanted to be a sports journalist like Michael Wilbon and Jay Adonde.
Yeah.
And they had all gone to Northwestern. So that was sort of the biggest decision for me, but I thought, Georgetown was going to polish me and bring me to be the kind of person I wanted to be.
What other schools of that caliber could you get into with that score?
Yeah, so I think, with anything above 1500, you can really go anywhere.
Yeah.
I think like at Princeton, for example, it's about a 5% acceptance rate. So they're taking 1 in 20 students. A lot of students have that SAT score, and so now that SAT is a check mark.
Right.
If you don't have a 1500, you're not getting that check mark. You got to be really special or forget about it.
Yeah.
And now it's like, okay, 10 students didn't have the 1500, they're not being considered. Now I'm considered along with 9 other people. What can I do to stand out? Being a great athlete, probably one of the best ways you can stand out and show, I've shown that I can work really hard. I have a coach who really believes in me. Maybe I can contribute to a team while I'm at Princeton. Plus I have the SAT score to belong here.
That's almost like the secret to getting into Ivy League schools. If you have great sports and a 1500 plus SAT, it's like nearly done.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, you're basically saying it's an expectation
Yeah.
And to get this SAT score almost.
Yeah, the SAT score is sort of the benchmark. It's the baseline. And then it's what else are you bringing to the table?
Right, because it used to be just get the scores. Now it's like you have to have the scores plus plus plus.
Yeah.
So, because we see a lot of our student athletes, like the coach, like, I'll take them, but they need the SAT score, and then like they're in. But there's like hundreds and hundreds of other students getting those scores that don't get in.
Exactly.
I think Harvard had like 20,000 applicants last year, and they're not all getting in. And pretty much nearly all of them have 1,500 SATs.
5% for Princeton, so 5% of 20,000 is like 1,000.
Oh, they all get like they all get thousands of applicants, but you have to have all these pluses now. So that the academics combined with the sports is like a done deal.
There's a lot of smart people, but they're looking for exceptional people. People who are going to change the world. People who are going to contribute to the school, and so that means more than just having a good SAT score. It could be being the head of a newspaper, starting a nonprofit. Yeah. But I think we've seen that being a great athlete does more than any of that.
Right, yeah, because you represent the school.
Yeah.
That's what we see as well. So let's get back into the test. The SAT, the reason why we decided to find partners was, we are not let's be honest, we're not the next doctors of the world.
I don't want to even say what my SAT score was.
We're great at sports. Forget about our scores. We just passed. But you're the expert. I mean, you've got an incredible score yourself, which, we like to work with people that are actually good at what they say they do, so that's tick. But what is the SAT score for maybe parents or students that are watching us or listening to it on podcasts? I have no idea, but they know about it, but what is it exactly?
Yeah, so the SAT is a test that's meant to sort of figure out what you're like as a student. It's not really an IQ test, but there definitely are some knowledge elements. So there's 4 sections. It starts off with the reading section, where you sort of think about, can this person understand main idea? Do they understand author's detail? It's kind of like a summary of your language arts classes that you've had throughout the years.
Right.
Then you have a writing section that generally is really easy to improve upon. It's a lot about comma rules and grammar rules, and there's a lot of students who just didn't learn that during their years in school, and we've had a lot of success teaching kids to improve their writing section pretty quickly. Even just choosing the simplest score will help you improve your writing section, the simplest answer. And then there's a math section, which teaches you the core concepts that you've learned in school: slope, factoring, mean, median, and mode. And so there's 2 parts to the math section: one where you have a calculator, one section where you unfortunately don't have a calculator. Overall, it's about a 3.5-hour test, scored out of 800 on the verbal section, 800 on the math section, together for a score of 1,600.
Then you have an essay, right? So
there's an optional essay.
Okay.
Almost no schools required anymore. So it used to be that you would come to the SAT, you would sit down, and before you even got to bubble in a question, they'd ask you to write a 30-minute essay.
Yeah.
Those days are gone now. Now the essay's at the end. I would say 95% of test takers don't take that essay.
Yeah.
And that's great for all the people who have bad handwriting like me.
Yeah. When I took the SAT, there was no essay. So I was like, I just had to do the English and math. It was all multiple choice.
Yeah.
I was like, this is brilliant.
Yeah.
Still didn't get
who would need the essay, and why would you take it?
So if you need the essay, it's probably because one of the schools you're applying to requires the essay. A few Ivy Leagues do, but Georgetown, for example, doesn't require the essay. Most schools don't require the essay these days.
You would know if you needed to.
You would, God willing.
Yeah.
It'd be a big problem if you did it.
Yeah. And then so obviously the SATs are English and math, but there are the subject tests, right? So how does that work?
So there's subject tests. For any students who are familiar with the AP curriculum, there's a lot of overlap. So there's a U.S. History AP test. There's also a U.S. History subject test. There's a physics AP test, there's a physics subject test. The subject tests are really to prove that, I've taken these courses in school and I can do really well. I think they're generally a lot easier than the SAT because they're pretty similar to what school is like. So if you're a good student, you're probably going to be pretty good on the subject test, but there's still practice tests that you can prepare with and ways to study. A lot of times students have to take the subject test if they're international or they were homeschooled.
Yeah.
So that way you can prove that, I learned in school, here's a test showing it.
Nice.
Or if you're applying to a top school. So, MIT requires at least 2 subject tests.
Yeah.
So if you're going to MIT, you want to show that, hey, I know physics really well, I know math really well, and maybe I know US history, I'm well-rounded.
Right.
Nice.
So that's why you do that. Got it. But for regular students we work with, it's not normally what they do. It's just the SAT test itself.
Yeah, we got some Ivy League.
Yeah, those kids,
guys,
they have to.
Yeah,
They have to. But the majority of student athletes going to, say, Florida State or Texas A&M, it's just the SAT.
The majority of people taking the SAT aren't worried about subject tests.
Yeah. Okay, so what is the ideal score on the SAT? Because we did a video about what Maverick scholarships versus presidential scholarships, and You know, we always recommend our clients about 1100 to kind of start getting some academic money. But what would you recommend is maybe the ideal score? You know, let's say you get that score that you should recommend taking the test again. What would you say?
I think it really depends on your goals, what your coach is telling you he needs from you.
Yeah.
So, you know, we tutored a student who was a rower at Penn.
Right.
And she needed about, you know, a 1200 to get in. We tutored another student who was going to be a gymnast at Penn. She needed a 1450 because the gymnastics team was just a lot more competitive.
Wow.
That's
crazy. Same school.
Same school, but just different programs, right? Different programs.
Just change sports. It's easier.
No, but if you go to Adam, you'll be fine. He'll get you to school.
Right.
He's your solution to you. You don't have to change sport anymore. Just go to Adam. Wow. So okay. So it's really depending on the program, you'd say.
Yeah. So you know, someone trying to go to Florida State, their ideal score. Probably about a 1300.
Right.
Someone trying to go to FIU, their ideal score is, you know, probably a 1200.
Right.
So it depends on the competitiveness of the school.
Yeah.
Depends on your quality as an athlete. You know, I'm sure Derek Rose didn't need a great ACT score.
Probably. So one of the things we always try to preach to parents is the importance of this test and how it can save you money. You know, we always the reason why we say that 1100 is the base is because of the Mayfrick scholarships that most schools give for the academics. So what would be the difference financially from like 1100 to 1400 with like academic scholarship money?
There's a lot of schools who, once you start getting to that 1400 range, can offer a lot of money.
Yeah.
George Washington University, their highest scholarship for merit is about $25,000 a year.
Yeah.
Someone scoring 1100 is going to have no chance at that scholarship.
Yeah, they're going to very small amount.
Yeah, you know, but someone scoring 1500 can probably get $25,000 a year.
Yeah.
There's a lot of other schools who have Rollins in Winter Park, Florida.
Yeah.
They offer a full ride program.
Really?
So you know, if you're going to qualify for that, you need a great SAT score.
What would you say you need for that program? Because that's a great.
They're pretty academically.
Yeah. So you need at least a 1450, and then they'll invite you to a weekend.
Right.
And then they'll decide to give you the scholarship. If they don't give you that scholarship, you can still
You're good.
save about $20,000, and they'll give you merit money. So, you know, as you get the higher your SAT score is, the more options you're going to get, the more money you're going to have.
Got it.
Okay. What about the ACT? Is there any advantage, disadvantage of just talk about that.
So the ACT is a sort of an alternative to the SAT. I expect everybody to take both tests at least once, at least a practice test.
Yeah.
You know, if there's two right options, you should consider both and say what's right for you. So the ACT is a lot faster. You know, there's 75 questions in 45 minutes. You know, that's sort of the biggest time crunch you're going to get.
Right.
But for students who like to rush through things and don't want to take their time, the ACT is often a better fit. The reading section on the ACT is a lot easier. And so for students who might struggle with English, the ACT is probably a better option.
I always thought it was harder.
Depends on who you are, right?
Right.
Yeah.
But the ACT is a lot of keyword finding. So it's like you'll look for the word, you know, kayak, and then you'll find the word kayak in the passage. And it's much more right there questions rather than deep thinking.
There's more
should
categories,
take
or
So there's still 4 sections.
Yeah.
I would say the ACT has a science section, which the SAT doesn't have. And so this science section has a lot of graphs and figures. If you're not comfortable reading tables and charts, that might not be the best fit. The math section on the ACT goes up to calculus, or pre-calculus. And so the math can be a little bit more difficult than the SAT. But really the hardest thing is the ACT has a lot more questions with a lot less time. And if you're struggling with time on the SAT, the ACT probably isn't the right choice.
Interesting.
Okay, so one question I have is super scoring, because this is like, does not happen where I'm from in England. You cannot super score exam. So what is super scoring in the SAT?
Super scoring is the SAT helping colleges. Colleges want to look cool, and so that means getting the highest scores that they can from their students. They'll combine your highest reading score with your highest math score, so it looks like you did better on the test overall than you might have done at one individual sitting.
Right.
It's super important for planning out your SAT strategy, and something we've had a lot of success with is saying, okay, we have 2 months before the SAT, we're only going to focus on math. We're going to get you the highest possible math score that we think we can, and then we're going to focus on reading for the next 2 months and get you the highest possible super score.
So you even recommend kind of taking an exam twice just to focus on one module, then the second time the next one, just super score them both together.
I think
That's
the
a really
super
good
score
idea.
is this, you know, I think it's kind of unfair, honestly, but it is the system that we have,
Well,
and so we should do everything we can to take advantage.
It's unfair, but it's great.
It's great.
I mean, where was he 20 years ago when I was doing this?
I was too busy getting 15, 70 on his own one.
I would never even thought to take it twice for that reason. I was just like, just get it, in England, you should grow up, you take the test and that's it. Like, now I think about it, what was I doing?
Yeah.
And I could have got to Stanford now.
For all the people that are thinking, well, I'm just going to take this once and then not do it again, it's like, well, maybe
you kind of don't want to have to take exams, and then we're take exams.
So look, it's only 4 hours, right? So if you can go up 60 points on your Scooper score just by feeling better on a different Saturday than the one before, there's no cost to taking it again.
Well,
you'll waste 4 hours of your day. It's not a problem.
Well, the parents might be thinking, well, if you can take the test again and it saves me another $10,000, like, you better believe those 4 hours you're going to do them again.
I think we should totally start advising clients to do that.
Yeah.
It makes so much more sense. If you can spend 4 hours just on one topic, and then you can just do it again, and then because you have to do it in a certain time frame. You can't take it once and 2 years later, right? You have to take it within.
So actually, you can take it in a pretty big time frame. Like you could take it 1 year and then wait another year and then take it again, and they would still super score you.
Yeah, because there is a time limit. I think it's a long time, but I thought it was like 2 years. You can't.
I mean, most people aren't. It's like
if you're going to take it, do it within 6 months normally.
Yeah, generally it's like once you start the tutoring, you have some momentum going. There's no reason to slow down.
Right.
No, it makes a lot of sense. I mean, I guess you could just take it one time and see what you get, but if you especially try to go with 1400s, that to do it twice makes more sense.
Yeah,
it does. Yeah.
We recommend everyone take it at least 2 times and probably 3.
Yeah, I had to take it 2 times because the first time I failed it, but that was not because I tried to super score. The first time I failed it, and the second time I passed it. That's the only reason why I took it twice. It wasn't because I was trying to super score. And then the score from the second test, the first test, none of the scores would help the second test anyway. So, I just did better the second time. All right, so super scoring is a very good strategy for people that are trying to get higher scores.
Yeah, I think it's probably the best thing you can do is say, I see that I'm weak on reading.
Yeah.
I'm going to focus on reading because I think I can get some improvement there.
Got it.
The other thing to remember is that every school accepts a super score. Yale, Harvard, Princeton, FIU, FAU. There's no schools that aren't going to accept your super score.
So they're not going to look down on you because you took it twice.
Yeah.
They just want to see the one score and that's it. They just want the grade.
And then one last point is that you can take the test as many times as you want.
Yeah.
Georgetown requires that you send all your scores, but they're really special. Most schools you can choose which scores to send. So I can take the SAT 4 times and then send my last 2 scores, and then Yale will never know I took it 4 times. They'll know I took it only twice.
But like schools is it like Georgetown want to know all your grades? Does that look down on you if you got a few bad ones or?
So for Georgetown it might, but they're one of the few schools that require it.
Right.
Most schools don't, and so I think the benefit of taking it, if you're really committed to getting a 1400 and you're close, the benefit of taking that extra time is worth the cost.
Yeah.
Because you don't have to send your scores if you don't like it.
Right. So it was really just kind of actually sitting down with you and understanding what's the goal, where am I trying to go to?
Yeah.
And understanding that so you can build a strategy around taking the test before you just go take it.
Exactly.
Got it, makes sense. So when would you recommend then a student athlete to start looking into this? When should they take the test?
So I think you should take it during your off season.
Right.
When you're doing the season, athletes are a full-time job, you're working with your coach, you're going to be tired, you don't have time to study. If you can say, I have 4 months in spring or 4 months in fall when my schedule is lighter, that's the time you should focus on it. Generally, junior year is probably the best time to focus on it because if you didn't get the score that you wanted, you still have some tests your senior year that you can take as a fallback option. But senior year is rushed. Sophomore year is too early. Junior year is the time to be taking the SAT.
Sometimes we say
for internationals.
Sometimes. So grade 9, which is freshman year, is like 14 to 15.
So kind of 15-ish.
I believe something around there.
Yeah.
And then 15 to 16. Like grade
so it's
9.
like kind of in England like GCSEs, like 16.
When you finish your GCSEs,
Got it.
Yeah. Sometimes we say earlier, like sophomore year sometimes, just because like obviously internationals have more things to do. So is that wrong? Is that right?
I think if you have a lot of other stuff to consider in the process, getting the SAT out of the way, that way also if you're an athlete, you can approach the coach and say, I've already gotten this SAT score.
Yeah, that's a big key, especially for us recruiting. If the athlete already has the score, the minimum score, we can get the job done.
Right.
That prevents us a lot of times getting that scholarship finalized for the athletes when they haven't got the SAT.
Well, a lot of coaches that like say you have like a golfer and they're both same scoring average, same resume, but one has an SAT done and the other one doesn't. He's going to take the one that's got the SAT. So there you go.
Especially if it's a good SAT.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. So We've gone and go, what is a test, time frames? How are you going to help an athlete improve their score?
So I think the biggest thing we do is really sit down one-on-one and say, here's where you're struggling. This is what you need to know for the test. Let's start working on it. So we can teach you a lot of the concepts that you didn't know, teach you sort of some of the tricks and say, this is how the SAT is structured. Now use this approach when you when you read the reading questions so you know which ones are wrong without even looking at the answers so much. Right. The other thing also is, it's hard to study for the SAT. It's not the most exciting test. Having a coach, somebody who is sort of assigning you work, making sure you're doing it, and motivating you along the way, gives you sort of the drive to actually study and put in the hours that you need to get the score you want.
Got it. So, and also from what I understand, I'm trying to imagine if there's a student athlete watching this who's working with us. We obviously, they join our service, we connect you with them. I believe you have them take a test first, right?
Yeah, so the first thing we do is they'll take a diagnostic test so that we can get an idea of you as a test taker. Say, here's where I started running out of time. Okay, well now we know that's where a problem you have to address. These are the questions I was confident in. This is where I realized that I don't know anything anymore.
Right.
And then we can start teaching based on your weaknesses.
Right, so you take the test, then you do your classes, and is there another test at the end to see an improvement?
So we give them a lot of practice tests throughout the time.
Right.
I think the best way to improve is to just keep practicing and getting better.
Yeah.
And so they're going to consistently take the test, so that way they can get familiar with the test, they can start recognizing patterns themselves. And that way they can always be tracking their score increase and say, last week I got a 720, this week I got a 750, I'm doing something right.
And this is all online. You can do this through FaceTime, Skype.
Yeah, so we do, FaceTime and Skype, that's what's easy for people, they have that. Yeah. We have digital whiteboards so we can upload the tests and write on it and show our work. And people can do it from all over. We have a student who's vacationing in Aruba right now, but that's not stopping him from getting his SAT work in.
Got it. And what kind of percentage or increased scores do you see from students you work with?
So we say on average after about 10 weeks, students will improve 110 points.
Yeah.
Definitely varies. Some students blow past that. I think a lot of it depends on how much you want it. And if you're putting in the work and grinding, then you're going to get the improvement that you want and then some.
Got it. And what would you recommend? Let's take me when I was 16, right? Not that great at school, just getting by, maybe C's and D's. I need to get at least 1,100 points to get into my university I'm trying to get to. How many classes would you recommend I need from you to kind of get me, let's say I took the test the first time, got 900 points, 950. And I need to get to 1,100, what would you recommend as a gauge?
So I think classes? That 200 point boost, I would probably say it's about 4 months of tutoring, right?
4 months of tutoring.
So you would spend 2 months doing the math test. For a student like you, we'd go for the super score.
Yeah.
We'd spend 2 months doing the math test, so that's 8 sessions. Then we'd spend another 2 months doing the reading test.
Right.
And I think we could probably get that 200 point improvement.
For 16 classes would give me. Okay. And let's say I'm actually a different type of student, someone's actually better at school, right? So B's and A's. They could probably get 1,100 on their own, but they need to get to 1,300, maybe 100 points more or 200 points more. Do you still say 16 classes to get them?
Yeah, so I think
a faster learner.
Probably about 10 classes then, right? If you can do some of the work on your own and we're not having to walk through every step, then we could probably move a little bit faster, assign more work. I would say about 10 classes for those higher scoring students.
Awesome. And what's the biggest increased student you've had? One of your best success stories?
We had a mother send us a video yesterday. I think the son started at a 27 on the ACT and got a 35.
Oh, wow.
And that's one we're really proud of. She was really excited. She sat down a video like this and recorded her and her son telling us.
Oh, you share it, put it on the page for people to see that you did that as well. Wow. So in T terms, that's 500 points almost.
Oh, it's huge. Yeah. It's probably 350 or something. It's a big increase.
Yeah, that's
it's going to change his life, right?
Yeah.
That guy went from going to, FSU to going to any school he wants.
Wow. Yeah, wow. So what do you see are the most common mistakes then that students are making on the SAT or ACT or any kind of test?
I think a lot of people just don't practice for it, right? They walk in and they're like, I'm a good student.
Yeah.
But it's different to be smart than to be good at this test.
Yeah.
And so learning what the test is like, how I should be pacing myself, how they want you to answer questions. For example, on the writing section, they really just want you to choose the simplest answer most of the time.
Right.
And so if you don't know that, you're going to get those questions wrong. But if you prepare for the test and say, I know how this test is structured, I know what kind of answers they want, I know what they consider wrong. I think preparation. I think not enough people are preparing for the test, and then they're getting disappointing scores.
Got it. So we spoke about ASM, how that works, right? We'll put you in touch with them, and they'll take a pre-diagnostic test, and you do the classes. If they want additional classes from you, they can also get that as well, right? So also we have a preset amount, but they can get additional classes as well.
Of course.
And you're doing SATs, ACTs, TOEFL as well?
Yeah, so we do
Right.
TOEFL, ACT, SAT.
Yeah.
Just these are the tests you need if you want to go to American University.
Yeah.
We're here to help you with them.
Right, and you'll help plan which ones they should take and everything. So
Yeah, and aside from that, you also do some maybe more kind of subject-based stuff. So, like one of our clients right now is getting some just general math tutoring.
Yeah, he's taking his A-levels in math,
Yeah.
and so we have a tutor reaching out and saying, here's
awesome.
here's how to differentiate. You need to know that for your A-levels. Let's start working on that.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so just all around tutoring.
Yeah.
That's really good. Wow. So and how big's your team? Like
We have about 20 tutors on the team now.
Nice.
Most have pretty similar backgrounds to me, so went to top schools, did well on the SAT, and people who you want to hang out with, right? Like we're not trying to be like old people who don't make sessions fun. We want to be as exciting as we can.
That's fun. So you make learning fun.
As fun as you can, right? Like I just think having someone who went down the road that you're trying to go down, who's a few years older than you and you can look up to as a mentor, that's going to make your sessions, that's going to make you want to work harder.
Yeah. No, I love it. I mean, especially when you've got over 1,500 learning from the pro here. So
yeah, they better listen to you.
Okay, well let's get some secrets whilst you got here. So this is my final question that I get asked a lot from kids is, what is the secret to getting over 1,500 points on the SAT? And you can't tell me it's hard work. So it's got to be a real secret.
All right.
What
So
do you- what could I do?
here's what it's going to be. We're going to go round on by each section.
All right.
For the reading section,
Yeah.
there's a reason why all the other answers are wrong. There's going to be like some slight detail or something that says that's going to be the reason why you got excluded, and you need to be able to mark off not why the answer is right, but why the other ones are wrong. For the writing section, you need to know all of your grammar rules. They're not hard. You can learn them in, I swear to God, maybe 3 hours.
Right.
And then you got to choose the simplest answers for any of the ones that are about sentence structure and writing style.
Right.
And then for math, you need to learn how to graph, you need to learn how to factor, you need to learn all of those basics in math that your teacher didn't want to teach you.
Right.
If you're not about to learn all of those things, try plugging in and checking, saying, okay, here the answers are 8, 4, 2, and 0. Let me plug all of these into my calculator and see which one ends up being the right answer. Those are my best tips for each section.
Nice, I like it.
Okay, I'm ready to go get my 1600
You know
right
what
now.
I think we should do is like a fun office video. So we all take this diagnostic test he has, right?
That'd be funny.
No, just take the real thing.
No, because it's too long.
No, we can
how
do
long
it.
is a diagnostic
Well, the
test?
diagnostic is short. It's 2 hours. It's
Yeah,
easier.
see, it's
You might as well go for the real one.
No, let's do it.
We all have cameras strapped to our chest, and we take this SAT test.
You could definitely go.
we
You
can
could go
do it.
viral.
I swear, we can
Why
do
don't
it.
we do this? We do. I think in this, we take the diagnostic test. We all get our scores. Then we have like a couple sessions. Everyone gets a couple sessions to improve. Then we go take the test. We can take the real test and see what people's scores are.
You guys have a fantasy league, right?
What for like?
No,
for
not this
football?
year.
No, not
Not
this
this
year.
year.
We could do that.
We should do the lowest one has to take the real one or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we could. No, whoever gets the lowest. No, this is what we can do, right? So everyone takes a diagnostic test. Whoever gets the lowest score then gets like 10 sessions with them, and they have to go take the real test and document the improvement. Because that's like real good for you guys, because you can show like the worst ASM team member got like 900 points or 1100 points, and then you got them 1400, then they're going to want to go Ivy.
I'm in.
That could be fun. I'm down. We should do it next year.
We do it.
We'll do that.
Sounds
So we
good
need
to me.
these links. So we
We
can
need
all
more
take
people
the
making
test.
the SAT fun like this.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I mean,
If I get the same score I got 9 years ago, we're gonna have a big problem.
we've got to surely get worse because it's been so long since we've taken it.
it's gonna be.
But then we get the classes, we'll get up again.
You'd hope so. No,
Then we will have their help.
it's not his fault. It's our fault.
If we didn't improve,
for us,
it's
it's
definitely our fault.
yeah.
But no, look, I'm really excited about this partnership. We made a big effort in like 2 years ago to kind of work with partners for this. We know it's so important for a student, and there's a lot of stuff out there. A lot of stuff on Amazon, books you can buy, and courses. There's a lot of free courses out there. But at the end of the day, I think we know how important this is for your scholarship increasement. Like by improving by 100 points, 200 points makes a massive increase in the amount of scholarship you can get. So we wanted to find the right partners, and not just for the SAT, but also for the ACT, the TOEFL. So we're really excited to have you on board the team, and thanks again for coming in today. And if anybody, if watching this on YouTube or listening to this on the podcast, if you want to get in touch with us, you can reach us at the asmscholarships.com website, or speak to a scout and they'll connect you with yourself, Adam, from the team, and we'll get you some SAT classes.
Awesome. Thank you guys.
Cool. All right,
Thanks
guys.
for coming in.
Thanks for coming in. Cheers.